Hey, what's going on everyone? Eric here with Proactive Intuition, and in this video I want to share with you guys 5 direct and simple tips for negotiating high-end deals like MacBooks and smartphones. Alright guys, so this is one of the questions I get asked the most, which is how to negotiate deals, how to get people to say yes, and I wanted to set some very simple expectations when it comes to negotiating deals. The first thing is that most people are going to tell you no. And that's okay, and they should tell you no, because we are literally buying their items at half the value or 3/4 of the value of what the item is actually worth. And a lot of people that sell those items, those high-end Apple devices like the iPhones and MacBooks, or even if you're buying different smartphones, they tend to think that their items are worth more than they really are. Like, how many of you guys have had people message you with an iPhone 7 and they still think it's worth $500? Like, those things still happen. And so there's a couple key things with negotiating that I want you to keep in mind. So just keep in mind these 5 tips and you will do just fine. You can get to $10,000 in a month by just implementing these 5 strategies. So the first tip for you guys is to keep it simple. I see so many people that are trying to complicate negotiating. They're trying to use all these advanced tactics, or they're trying to talk to the customer for too long, or whatever it may be. Just keep it simple. If someone messages you with an iPhone, you don't need to get the IMEI number. You don't need to do any of those things. You literally just need to ask them a couple of key questions. Number 1 is, what phone do you have? I have an iPhone 8 Plus. Great. What phone carrier is it for? You don't even have to ask this question most of the time. I can just go straight to, great, what condition is it in? Is there any cracks or issues with the phone? No, there's not. Cool, I can do this amount for you. The hard part of negotiating is going to be appraising quickly, because you want to get that offer out to your customer very fast so you can get them back into the conversation. The people that are messaging us, like if you guys follow my channel, you place ads, whether it's paid ads or free ads, however you do it, and people message you with what they have for sale. You're better off if you can negotiate with them right then and there than have a conversation that's spread out over time. So you want to interact with them. Once you start interacting with them, you want to be able to go back and forth throughout that entire duration of the negotiation. That's where I found that you can still close deals, because people tend to say yes, or they tend to communicate back and forth with you when they're just reacting off of emotion, like, yeah, sure, I can take $100 and I can meet now. So that's my first tip, is to keep it simple. Don't use anything fancy. You only need to ask a few questions. You can look up the IMEI number when you meet up with them, and just look it up on SICW, do the whole bill of sale process, just like I talked about in a lot of the other videos on my channel, so be sure to check those out. Number 2 is to make your communication so clear that a little kid could understand it. So let's say you're negotiating a MacBook, and a lot of people don't know what model MacBook they have. So just like in my MacBook series, you have to figure out what that serial number is, or have them send you the specs. But a lot of you guys, when you send me your messages, you just say, hey, send me the serial number, I need to look up the specs for the MacBook. Most people selling MacBooks, they don't know what the serial number is. Like, that sounds like some type of phrase that a doctor would say when he's reading off a medical chart or something, and you're not a med student to understand what he's saying. You have to make things so crystal clear. So this is the way that I negotiate MacBooks. If you need to figure out the serial number, or if you feel more comfortable getting the IMEI number, you need to guide the customer through how to get that number. So what I do is I say, hey, I have a MacBook for sale. I say, great, awesome. Do you know that, or I say, could you send me the serial number for the MacBook? It's that 15-digit number located on the bottom of your MacBook. And they either send you a picture or they type out that number to you, and it works almost every single time. And I say, that will allow me to look up the specs so I can get you an accurate quote. And they always say yes. So keep your communication very direct and make it simple and easy to understand for the customer. That's tip number 2. Number 3 is always make the offer, regardless if you feel like the person's going to go off on you. Like I said, keep your emotions out of it. But regardless what you think the person's going to say, or if you feel like they're going to say no, whatever it is, still make the offer. And one of the things that I see, and this is one of my, well, it's actually not on here, there's so many different tips I have, but don't be afraid to walk away from a deal, or just cut off the conversation if you're way too far off in price. The only deals that I negotiate are the deals that I'm close to on price, because I value my time. I don't want to spend all day going back and forth when I'm $200 off in price for an item that I probably not going to close. You know, a lot of people actually come back to you because they realize that the price that they're asking for is ridiculous. And if they truly want fast cash, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, you know what, I need that $100 or that $200 that you offer me for that device, and they'll come back to you a few days later or a week later. And a lot of my deals that I close is people that come back to me after they told me no and we couldn't reach an agreement. So that's number 3, is always make the offer. Number 4 is know your price. This goes back to negotiating. Like I said, you need to be able to get that offer out within 30 seconds or less. So that requires that you practice appraisals. Something that I would do so that I got really good at negotiating, because getting that price out, like I said, is really important. I would practice appraisals. I would pretend like I had someone message me and said, hey, I have a MacBook for sale and it's, you know, has this, and this specs, and I would look it up and see how fast I could look it up and how fast I can make an offer. You know, you could also do that with phones or whatever else you're appraising. I have an iPhone 7 Plus, it's 128 gigabyte, it's got a crack on the front screen, but it still works great. Boom, how fast can you appraise that? Is it, you know, if you guys want to, when you appraise items, you can just appraise everything as Sprint. This is a little pro tip for you guys. You can appraise everything as Sprint, because Sprint is usually the, you know, carrier that's worth the least amount of money. And if they say no to your offer based off of you appraising it as Sprint, and you figure out later, hey, this phone's unlocked or it's Verizon, you can pay up a little bit more for it. You know, if they tell you no to your Sprint offer, you can say, oh, okay, what carrier is it for? And then you can justify paying a little bit more if you have to. So that's number 4, is to know your price. Number 5 is don't be afraid to walk away from a deal. So many of you guys are getting too caught up with deals that are not closable. You have to make sure that, hey, you know what, I'm way too far off in price, like I was saying earlier, and this guy, he's not gonna say yes. It's not worth my mental energy. It's not worth any of the time I'm putting into this if we're just way too far off in price. You have to be in that mindset that, hey, most people are going to tell you no. This is a numbers game. This is how many leads can I get? And you know, over time you can perfect and improve your negotiation. In the beginning, you're probably not gonna be very good at it, but if you can stick to these 5 tips, I promise you, you're gonna close more deals, and it's gonna be a lot less headache to you once you have that realization that, hey, most people are gonna tell me no, and I just have to take them through this process of keeping them in the conversation and making effective offers. So let's go over the 5 again real quick. Number 1 is keep it simple. Number 2 is make your communication so clear that a little kid can understand it. You guys need to guide them through on how to find that serial number, on how to find the IMEI number if you want to get the IMEI or serial number. Those are key things. People do not know what you're talking about. I've had people completely stop responding because the communication gets too complicated. And that's another tip too. If you go to meet up with someone, make sure you send them the address and tell them like, hey, I'll be parked here, I'm in this car, this is my phone number if you need to call me. You need to make everything clear in your business. Number 3 is always make the offer, regardless if you feel like they're gonna say no. They could say yes, they could come back to you later, so always make that offer. Number 4, know your price. Make sure you're making effective, accurate offers and get that price out to your customer quickly. Number 5, don't be afraid to walk away from a deal. If it's not happening, if there's no way that they're gonna say yes, if you're way too far off in price, if you say, I can give you $200 for it, and they say, F you, get lost, then drop that deal. Don't do it. Don't keep pursuing it. Go on to the next one. It's a numbers game. Get more leads and you'll close more deals. So that's all I got for you guys. See you all in the next video. Take care.